You are up, Commissioner.
All right, Bannock County Commissioners are back in session as the Board of Equalization. Real quickly, the purpose of this board is to hear property assessment appeals and ensure that all assessments are fair, equitable, and in accordance with Idaho state law. As the taxpayer, you have the burden of proof, and you need to provide sufficient factual evidence to sustain your burden of proof. Sufficient factual evidence means recent sales comparables of properties in your area, professional appraisals, evidence of property condition, damage, or limitations, or other documentation of factors affecting market value. We are here to discuss facts, not opinions, and we are not here to discuss taxes. This is a formal hearing, and we ask that all testimony be respectful, relevant, and based on factual information, not opinion. All individuals providing testimony will be sworn in. Each party will be given 3 minutes to present their case. First, the appellant will go. The board may ask questions, and then the assessor will go. And again, the board may ask questions of that. Our decision will be based on whether you've provided enough factual evidence to affect the property's market value as of the assessment date of January 1. After today's decision, you will receive a letter outlining the decision. If you choose to appeal the decision, you can do so in either the district court or at the State Board of Appeals. So those of you that have not been sworn in yet, please rise, and Nancy will swear you in.
You solemnly swear that any testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Tamara, you're first on, so come on up.
Okay.
Just have a seat.
Seat right here.
That is the hot seat, so just go ahead and state your name, and then
Okay.
your 3 minutes will begin.
Okay. My name's Tamara Hollinger Forrest, and I do reside at 2510 Michelle Street in Pocatello, and have so for about the past 20 years. My reason today is to discuss with you the new assessment value of my home, recently assessed by Bannock County to be $616,671. I have 3 items that I was able to get access to provide to you today. The first 3 are behind my assessed value statement, and they're homes that reside in the Satterfield Highland area and around the same year built square footage as my home. So the first one being 2641 Hillview Drive. It's listed currently for $590,000. The square foot is 3,600 and the year built is 2006. Just to remind you, my home was built in 2003. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, and it's 3,658, so 3,658. So again, this house is listed at $590,000. Again, I don't know what it'll sell for, but that's the listing price. Another one that's just up Michelle Street from me on Maryland is currently listed at $519,000 with a square footage of 3,300, so about 300 less than mine. It was built in 1999, so has a few years older than mine, but again listed at $520,000 with a 5-bedroom, 4-bath. And the third one is in the same area of Highland area, 646 Gary Street. It's listed currently at $549,900. Has more square footage than mine at 3,900 square feet, built in 98, and a 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath. And those are the only 3 that I could really find that were anywhere near close to mine. Most of those homes for sale in that area now are by the Temple and newer homes, so these are at least close in age range from mine at 2003 when it was built. The next item that I was able to find online that I had access to was the, let me get the name right here, it is the Bannock County Parcel Viewer. So it provides the new 2025 assessed values in our county, and so I went up the street of Michelle where I live and looked at properties and what their new assessed value is. And so I have the first one is Charles Bilyeu, and the address is 2640 Michelle. Mine's 2510, so just up the street, built in 2004, 4-bedroom, 2-bath at 3,500 square feet, and the county has it assessed at $561. Am I going too fast?
No, you're
Okay.
fine.
The next one is in a little cul-de-sac up Michelle Street from me.
Oh, there's your time though.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So you were going just right.
Sorry.
Almost. Oh, you're good. Any questions from the assessor?
No questions.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Okay, assessor, state your name and the floor is yours.
My name is Alyssa Noble. I am a certified residential appraiser for Bannock County. The subject parcel today is RPRPPR 2000100 on 2510 Michelle Street. Subject property is about 0.26 acres, one story, built in 2003. We have total finished square feet at 3,658, coming in at $140 per square foot. The current assessed value is at $616,671. My first comparable is 2505 Michelle on 2.29 acres. It is built in 2004, sitting at about 3,520 finished square feet. The sale occurred in December of 2024 and it sold for $589, coming in at $139 per square foot. My next comparable is 2955 Michelle Street on 0.32 acres, 2006 built, 3,675 square feet. It sold for $674,900 in May of 2024, coming in at about $157 per square feet. My last comparable is 1492 Stone Ridge Drive on 0.37 acres, 2006 built, 3,362 finished square feet, sold for about $615 and coming in at about $156 per square foot. If you look at the vicinity map, all of these comparables are off of Michelle Street, within that same area and subdivision. All similarly built, similar square footage, similar styles of home as well. And with that evidence, I would ask that the value of subject property be upheld for 2025.
Okay, questions from the board?
No. My question, and just looking at the residential valuation record, that it showed in 23, this parcel was at 608, and last year at 24 it was 555. So it dropped significantly, and then all of a sudden, and then this year jumped back up even to a higher value. I guess I'm just looking, do you have any reasonable explanation of why that one dropped so far and then recovered, up that much? You probably do have the answer. I guess I'm just curious.
I'm curious as well.
Do you see what I'm looking for?
We did drop a lot of values last year
Okay,
and fell out of compliance.
okay,
Because we did that, we tried to stay on the conservative end, and because of what sales were doing during that time frame between October 23 and the end of 2024, those sales were going up, so we had to readjust and bring them back up. And what they're doing for 2025, we don't have at this point because we can't use those.
okay.
And so, but that's why you've seen the big adjustment. It's
And you
because
saw
we did
that
drop-
pretty well all over the,
It's all over the county.
yeah, and I think that point's, very well made, that we're subject to valuation from requirements from the state, so, okay.
Yeah, she has a question.
Oh, yes, sorry. Thank
Do
you.
I get a chance to respond to her?
You can, address your comments up
Okay.
here.
So the first home that she mentioned that sold in December of 2024 is the home right across the street from me at 2505 Michelle Street. And again, I had listed that because it is similar in builder, similar square footage
25
on the same street as Michelle Street.
Yep.
And you listed that as being sold as how much? 2505 Michelle Street?
It's sold for $589,000.
Okay, and that was also one of my points here, is that my house value being over 600,000, I think is not the correct assessed value, and the house, again, that sold right across from me on Michelle. And then if you look at all the other homes that are around me on Michelle Street, same builder, similar square footage and year built, being 2003 when most of those homes were built, they're all assessed by the Bannock County assessors. Your office is the one that assessed them, and they're all under 600,000. So when you talk about these homes that are over 600,000, you're going to different streets in that neighborhood. So when you get over to a couple of streets, for example, on Stone Ridge, those homes were built later, a couple of years later, maybe more around 2004, 2006, by different builders. So they're different designed homes. And I think that has a lot to do with the value of the home when you look at the type of builders and how they built homes. Those all being most likely over 6, where, again, I'd like to be assessed the same as my neighbors with the same builder and same square footage.
Thank you. And I'm kind of going to side with the appellant on this. I look at the home across the street, its sales price, and you have it assessed right at that sales price on the parcel viewer, which, again, if her home, which it appears to be very similar, it should be about in that same area. And then, again, I look at what the current market conditions are and backdate it, and I think that supports the price closer to the $596 range versus the $600,000 range. So I would move on parcel RPPR 2000100 that we set the value at $596,285 with the adjustment coming off the improvement. Any discussion on that,
I'm good with that.
Commissioner? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
That was 596,285.
596,285.
Thank you.
Dwayne, you want to come back up? And for the record, Mr. Sudwicks did go across the street and visit with the assessor and ironed out some of the questions that they had. So we've invited Mr. Sudwicks back to complete his hearing and go from there. So with that, I will give the assessor a minute to get settled in and then share with us what they discovered.
We discovered that subject property has basement garage, and so it is sketched incorrectly as basement garage, but it was stated incorrectly as just basement when I stated it. But we did have a chance to go over subject drawing, and the upper level does look to be about 100 square feet too much on the assessor's sketch. So we would like to recommend bringing the improvement value down to $490,775 because of that discrepancy with the upper level, for a total of $720,348. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sudwicks, do you have a response?
Yeah, I appreciate that reduction. It helps a little bit. It's not totally what I was looking for. But my biggest point is my property, that it has gone up 270% in 5 years, after 23 years only going up, basically doubling in 23 years since 1997. I'd like to know from the appraisers, what kind of comps do they use to appraise that basically unusable acreage? I know I own it and I know it's of a value, but I don't think it's of that high a value. What kind of comps say it's worth $236,000?
Can I answer?
Yes, please, sorry.
We have a full-time analyst, and he collects all sales throughout the year, and he analyzes that, and then it's applied to like properties in the county. So there's a lot of sales that go into it. There's location, there's how many acres, and what people will pay. So additional acres, they will pay more for additional acres, but you can see the dollar amount is much less.
Okay. All right, Commissioner?
So I would make a motion that on parcel RPRRSTR000200, that we go with the suggestion of the assessor at the adjusted value of $720,348.
Okay. Question?
Do I get a closing statement? According to the information that I was given by Bannock County, I get 2 minutes for a closing statement.
You've had your allotment of time, in my opinion, but that's up to the chair.
Do you have any discussion on this?
No. No, I'm okay with that.
And I'm probably going to deny that request because, again, we did have time there. And in looking at the market, I think the assessor's actually undervalued with the market price of your home, with the improvements that have gone on in your neighborhood. That explains some of the improvement of the increase in the price. And you are in a very desirable location. I go by your place all the time, and it is a very nice place, and it is a very desirable location. And so I give you the time, but I don't think it's going to change our ruling. So at this point in time, I will call the question. Is all in favor, say aye. Aye. You will receive a letter on this, and should you choose to appeal it, you can do so either in the district court or at the State Board of Appeals.
What, can I ask what the district court is? What?
Yeah, you could file a claim with the court against this and go through your attorney fees and stuff like that, or you can just go to the State Board of Appeals,
Okay.
which would be a much more financially cheaper option.
Can I ask one more question
Yes,
of the
sir.
commissioners? If I go out and hire an independent appraiser and have him present that, can I present that to
You would have to go to the State Board of Appeals at this point.
to the state, but I could do it at that time?
Yes, you could.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Thank you
then
very
this,
much.
this letter should explain exactly.
Yeah, the letter you will receive will outline the process for go forward for you.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
thanks.
All right, now we'll do some admin hearings.
I did not print my ad.
So,
See, I'm getting into my role. That's what I'm days.
Kelly, Jesse,
let's start with parcel RPCPP 142109. That's the Kirkham Trail. Can you talk about that one? Are you prepared to talk about that one?
the Kirkham Trail.
This is the one that we've talked about previously.
Yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, I can offer any additional information that the board requests.
I know the answer to that. All right, we talked about this property prior, and we've had some additional information come to light that I think was worth talking about. The property that is in question went to BTA in 2020, or it went to the State Board of Appeals, and they put the value at $14,200. They came back to Bannock County Board of Appeals in 2020, what's the date on that? 2023. And we set it down to $16,877. And so the question is, why did it come back at the new value? And then is it worth sending them back to the State Board of Appeals and having the Board of Appeals side with them again, or having us look at it and make a different decision? And so that's the question before us at this point in time. They did present some information that I thought was worthy to bring it back up. So with that, I open the floor for discussion. Commissioner Bullock, do you have any thoughts?
You know, I know we looked at the statutes, which does require the property owner or whatever, but I also, to me, I always have to go, what's the common sense value, what's the common sense thing to do here? But I think after Commissioner Huff showed me that thing, that it also, in the Board of Appeals, they sided with whatever they side with. So I'm kind of curious, the same question of it is, if it goes to the Board of Appeals again, are they gonna come back with the same logic or whatever, and where are we there? Or versus, we should say, okay, what's the right thing to do for everybody concerned right now? And so that's my question. What's the right thing to do, short of going to I mean, I get the statute thing, but I'll go on record, I don't always agree with statutes. Sometimes why they do some of those things is beyond me. That's why we do have appeals. That's why we do have that. So I'm ready to listen to whatever the assessor's office could give us.
Before they do that,
Right.
Commissioner Moser?
Well, I'd let them go ahead and go back to BTA. This ground out there is choice. We've just annexed it into the city of Pocatello. The values, the area is not the blight area that it was before. It's a lot of things going on out there. So if we're wrong and they go to BTA, it doesn't cost them anything. It just makes it so that they get whatever that value is for 2 years.
Well, let me verify, this property in question has not just been recently annexed in, it's always been annexed in Pocatello, is that correct?
It was not part of that annex, I don't think. I
Wasn't
think
it?
it's always been that, Jeff, what,
It's the South Valley Connector parcel.
I
Okay.
think that has been.
Which it would have had been in city in
It
order
would
for
have
them
been
to
city.
put the bridge
Okay.
across there,
Has been,
so.
but let's check it out here.
So it's the parcel that's got the Greenway Trail running through it right there above Ross Park.
Yeah, I do believe this has been in city limits for some
Which
time.
And-
still that same area has just developed in businesses. Which says that somebody thinks that property's got some value to it.
I agree with that, but where it's been actually kind of donated to the use of public use, would they turn around now and put that up for sale after all the efforts of the trail has gone through there? Again, I can't answer that for the seller, but I would, knowing that, to me, I don't know whether they would completely reverse direction and sell that out from underneath the green belt or those trail systems. I can't answer that, but, which nobody can until somebody offers them buku bucks, so that's probably a
And
question
that's
that
one of the
nobody has.
questions that we've
Yeah.
that we've asked them before,
Right.
because it is, it's actively listed for sale, it's described as prime commercial industrial development, but it's been listed for quite some time. The appellant has told us that in the past they've offered it for donation, I believe, to the state of Idaho, and allegedly the state said that the cost to develop, it would actually have been cheaper for them to just purchase land without the lava rock underneath. So we've asked the appellant, we said, have you considered, you've given access for the trail, but have you ever considered doing a land split and actually donating that portion so that it's off your books? And they never have to date, but it's something that's always an option for them to do.
Madam Assessor, any thoughts? I know you have thoughts, but any you'd like to share?
I guess my only thought is, and probably this isn't a good place to say this, but if they were to go to BTA and were to drop this back to $14,000, then because this value is being used to levy against this 1.1 million, it could cause some things there. And honestly, we have some new board members on the BTA. So to say what they would do this year, I don't know. But
Well, in my mind, we have the precedent where a year or two ago, we set the value at 16, whatever we did. So we kind of followed the pattern from the state BOE, or Board of Appeals, and so I could make the case to do something like that again. And we talked yesterday about setting a permanent adjustment. Is that the right word? Permanent?
I said a permanent influence.
Influence, thank
We
you.
had to do that, could do that. However, if that property ever sells, and it does sell for, and it's justified as being buildable, then, or not buildable, but if it can be developed, it's going to change that value back.
Right. And the other part of my thought is, again, where this is a benefit to the public, because the public do use that trail, the public is wandering all through that up there. I myself have wandered all through that just because it's kind of cool up there. And to go back to your point about if we do rank it at 1.1 and set it up to be a BTE and they bring it down, that has some ramifications that are not pleasant as well. So it's one of those.
Yeah, and I understand that. But if we make the adjustments and every levying district is affected automatically.
And I would agree with that
From
also.
City of Pocatello, the schools, everything.
But that adjustment's already been made in the prior year, so it wouldn't necessarily impact them as much as if we put it on and took it off, because they're already at that lower level from the previous year.
Well, and the final value, whatever the final value comes to be, will be what actually will be used to develop a levy.
Well,
Whether it stays at this or it gets lowered, that would be what is used to come to a levy.
any further discussion?
And I don't get hung up on the levy deal. Because each one of these taxing districts has their own budget. And it's a juggling match between what you have to budget versus what your property value is. And there's always a dance, so it's always there. So if the property values go down, they adjust their levy or their budget. Say, well, it can't. So I think there's always going to be that dance that's out there. But to me, I think I would not, for the public use of that, I hate to take that away from that, knowing that there could be some adjustments. And if they do sell that property, which they have that right, then automatically the county is going to benefit from that on a sale of a higher value. But until that does happen, we can't say, well, we could go to the ball at midnight and turn into it. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. So I think my logic is let's do what's right, and I think the right thing to do for the public is probably to allow that ground to be at a prior established level, as long as the public can use that, and then worry about the future when it happens. So that's my opinion.
Then I will make a motion on parcel RP CPP 142109 that we set the value at $25,000 and have that permanently noted so that we can do an annual adjustment, of 10% or whatever the market rate is for growth in the area. But that way we don't have to come back and revisit this every year unless there is a sale. Discussion. No discussion?
No discussion.
Is 25 the right value? I mean, compared to what it is right now. I mean, should it be 50 or should it, arbitrarily 25, is that going
I was just going off of what
the BTA did?
the BTA and added some adjustment for
Okay.
the time.
I just wanted to hear your justification for
That was my logic.
for the 25,000.
That was my logic.
We all have our own logic. I'm good with that.
Okay, so with that, we have a motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. There we go. Okay. Which one would you like to do next, Mr. Jason?
Oh, well, if I'm looking at the schedule for admins, just first one at the top of the admins is Simon CRE.
Okay.
and that is 5 different parcels, and then the same company also appealed the Target one.
For some reason, I'm not seeing that. Why am I not seeing that? Oh, there it is, got it.
So which one's this one?
It's, if you look in the 1 o'clock file, it's there.
Not under the admin?
Correct. But it is an admin because it has multiple parcels in the
Okay, which one is this one?
Simon CRE. You're on the wrong day.
It keeps wanting to go back on me.
Simon CRE, yep. Did you find it? All right, go ahead, Wilson.
Thank you. So to give a brief history to this property, this is where the Pine Ridge Mall sits, or a portion of it currently sits. Last year, during negotiations with the appellant, which was a combination of the tax representative and the property owner, we made some major concessions and reductions to the assessed value, and that was all based on the developer's insistence at the time that they were going to start demolishing a portion of the mall last July. So we made those concessions, we brought that value down. Now, in reality, the demolition didn't begin until June 1st of this year, but when we looked over all of the information from the appellant, and kudos to them, they sent a lot of information. They sent sales data, lease data, just a wealth of information.
190 pages worth of it.
Yeah, nearly 200 pages of data. So when we looked through that, we were pretty confused about their assertion and request of value, because as of January 1st, we still were not assessing any value to the concourse or to the JCPenney building. We were only assessing property that is actively being used, and actually today is currently still standing. The Planet Fitness area, the other half of that building, the former Cal Ranch location, those were the areas that we assessed value to, and those are all areas that are still performing. They're still generating income, they're operating, they're leased out. And so as we looked through everything, including all of the appellant's data, we definitely could not find any opportunity to lower the value, because there is absolutely market value remaining in all of the portions of the property that were still performing as of January 1, and they're still performing as of today. And our request would be that we uphold that assessed value.
And so are you talking like the cumulative value for all of the parcels? Or,
Yes, it would be the cumulative value for all 5 parcels.
and that's what, 3.9 million or something like that?
That is just on one parcel.
Yeah.
So the cumulative value, yes, so on the very first one ending in 101, that is 3.9. The
Okay.
cumulative value across all of these is just a little more than 8.5.
So are we, the ground that, for instance, Olive Garden, Panera are those individual parcels, or is that the ground that's included in
So
the
the ground
Pocatello
that's,
Mall?
the ground that sits under them is separately owned. There is a very small sliver that is actually access road that
Okay.
heads between Panera and Olive Garden that this developer owns.
Okay, so we're not talking about any of where the Health West,
Correct.
none of
Yeah,
that?
we're really
This
just
is
talking
only-
about
okay.
where the mall sits, the parking lot area, where they lease a portion on the western edge out to INL for a parking lot. They own a portion at the northern edge, adjacent to the AMC Theaters parking lot. It's just
Okay.
that land.
Okay. Comments?
I would uphold the assessor's value. I mean, we've worked with them, we've given them landfill fees, we've given them breaks already in other areas, and They've evaluated, they've looked over the property and
They're still receiving revenue from the properties. So,
Well, the 3.9 million, what, is that on like the main part that is no longer there, like J.C. Penney, or what's the 3.9 on?
That is actually where Planet Fitness sits,
Okay.
and the Red Cross and the bookstore and
So
the
it's
shoe
that,
store.
that northern end,
Yeah.
okay?
what about the one next to Hobby Lobby that they used to be part of?
That, the old cow ranch?
Yeah, where the old cow ranch is that part of this?
Yes, that is on the parcel ending in 1001.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about that later? Or,
I have all 5 parcels listed
Okay.
in my packet, and I'm happy
so
to
that's
talk
what I'm
about it.
looking at in the figure 1.
Yes. Yeah, in figure 1, line 3, that is the portion that is the cow ranch. And that is where we had previously listed the concourse space, but we don't have any value assessed to that.
Okay.
See, and I would agree to uphold the value on the parcels that are earning the Planet Fitness and the other stuff. But in the middle, I would almost be willing to help them out a little bit with that. Which one would be the J.C. Penney and kind of that middle section that is no
That's
longer-
actually the one in the Target appeal.
That's in the
That's the
Target
piece
deal?
that's currently owned by Target.
Okay, then we'll sit on that one then. All right, so with that then, we have did you make a motion?
no.
No, you just said
at.
Why didn't you?
Well, I would so move.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to uphold the assessed value on the property, the multiple parcels. Do you need me to list those off, Nancy, or are you okay just going off the file?
I can do it if you want to read the last few digits for each one.
Okay, the last few digits, so it would be parcel ending in 101, parcel ending in 200, parcel ending in
1003.
1003, and parcel ending in 400,
And 100.
and parcel ending in 100. Is that two 100s?
No.
Okay.
101.
One's 101.
Okay. Is that it? Yep. Okay. So we have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Which one's next, Jason?
That would be the parcel where Target
Okay.
currently owns. That is parcel RPRC PRR001002.
Okay. Go ahead.
On this particular one, currently we only have a bare land value assessed to this piece of property, and when we looked through the appellant's information, they gave us a lot of comparable bare land sales. We actually referenced a lot of these in the appeal that we just finished talking about. A lot of them indicated a value per square foot of $20 on smaller pieces that are actually adjacent to the mall property. And we felt it was a little high for a piece this big. So then we looked at what sort of information did they submit for land that is comparable. And so the most comparable is one that sold, I believe, just 2,000 feet from the subject property, another commercial piece of land that was 10 acres. And that actually sold at a rate of $8 a square foot. So it shows us in this immediate area, commercial land undeveloped is going for $8 a square foot. Now we currently have this subject property valued at only $4 a square foot. So when we looked over the appellant's own information as to what they feel property is selling for, it indicates that our current assessed value on bare undeveloped land is low. So we couldn't find any opportunity for adjustment there where it's about half of what even the appellant is stating market value is. So our recommendation would be that we uphold the assessed value.
Okay, questions?
I agree with the adjuster.
Me too.
Okay.
I'll make the motion that we accept the Assessor's recommendations for parcels ending 1002, 0300, 0200, 0100. Evidently, there's another 0100 and another 0100 and a 501 and a 400.
That's not the number I have.
What have I got?
I have RC, RRP, RCP, RR00.
Oh, I'm looking at-
002.
I'm looking at the parcel numbers of the comps. Sorry about that.
Oh,
So you was always guessing, weren't you? Those are the parcel numbers of the property, so it's the 1002. Is that the one?
Yes, the subject property is the
Okay.
one ending in 100.
And you just have the one parcel number?
Yes.
So with that, I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Any further discussion?
no.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Now let's move on to the other admins. And let's start with the Pocatello Motel. How's that? So that's parcel ending in 200. RP RCBRT 000200.
So this parcel is the hotel operating under an extended stay flag. It is just over on Burnside at the very end of the property next to all the new development that's going on. And when we looked at that one, you know, we have it as a 34,000 square foot hotel motel operating out there. When we looked at the comparable values to look at the price per square foot for other properties, we found that the subject property is below the median. It's below what we would expect to see, but in reviewing the property, if you've ever driven past it, it is a motel that also very likely performs under the average. The quality and upkeep is going to fall under the average. When we looked at all the data on there, we do feel that it is accurately valued to reflect its current condition, and so our recommendation on there would be that we uphold the assessed value.
So did their tax agent reach out to you and talk to you about it at all?
Yes, this was, the tax representative reached out on behalf of multiple hotels.
Okay. I don't see any data from them to contradict what you said. Am I missing something?
No.
Okay. Then on parcel RP RCBRT 000200, I'd move that we uphold the assessed value. Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Let's do Miriam's family, or no, let's do LRD lodging. There's 3 of them there. And let's start with the one that ends in 2202. How's that?
I am going to pull that one up. I do not have that in my packet, but I believe that may be an ancillary piece adjacent. I just want to make sure that I am
3 acres.
speaking to the correct thing. Okay, yes, this is it's the piece of land that actually operates as the roadway right between the Best Western heading towards the Mech and Applebee's.
Okay.
And on that piece, it's just a bare land value, and it's a token value. So we didn't find any opportunity to lower the value on that little piece.
So your value of 5.2, or your value of $6 million is a token value? Did I look at the right one?
What was the ending of that parcel?
2202?
Okay,
Or did
I
I give you-
retract that statement.
Did I give you the wrong one?
No, you did not give me the wrong one. Give me just a moment here. I believe I was looking at that neighbor parcel that they also own.
That's pretty good token value.
I want one.
Because this is the profit and loss for the Best Western, so this is the Best Western itself. Have the income analysis on it?
You have a name attached to this.
Yeah, it's LRD lodging.
Is it under there?
It's in the admin section.
I believe I'm actually missing this packet. If you can allow me just a moment, I can get this pulled back up.
So there's 3 different ones? huh?
Yeah, there's 3 there.
So which one we're looking at
We're
first?
looking at the one ending in 2202. Yeah, that one.
There we go.
Do you have that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, it's coming up right now.
So you show it at 6 million, and they think it should be 5.2 million. And they're basing that off of the income analysis, it looks like.
Yeah, when we went through and looked at all of those, what we found was the appellant provided information, which we definitely appreciated. They presented their own approach to value. And as we looked through all of that, we found a couple areas of concern. That packet is somehow missing from the packet that I'm seeing on the drive.
Do you want to look at mine?
Sure. That'll give me a quick refresher. And does this have my packet attached to it?
Should be.
It's not
Well,
on
there's
there
only
either.
10 pages on that one, so I might not have yours with it.
Well, I can speak to the property in general. Is this the portion that has the actual Best Western on it?
I believe so.
Okay. When we went through all of the appellant's information and reconstructed it, the overall property with all 3 parcels, originally it was functioning as the Best Western. The, I guess, western portion that's along the road to Applebee's and the Met, that portion of the hotel is being split off, gutted, and renovated and turned into a second separate hotel. So when we looked at the Best Western and we looked at all of the financial data that they submitted to us, we did an income analysis, we looked at everything going on there, and taking the income approach and using the appellant's provided cap rate, it actually indicated a higher value. If I recall, we found some expenses in their approach that were not allowable. And so as we looked at the income approach and saw that it did indicate a higher value than we had it assessed, we felt it would still be appropriate to stick with where we're at rather than solely rely on their income approach.
So did you use their cap rate of the 8.75?
Yeah, we did use their 875. We've tried to just take a look at what it would be if we used their own cap rates. In almost every case, it still indicated a higher value than we had. Overall, the cap rates we've been using have been closer to 8 to 8.5. And the particular appellant used a different cap rate on every hotel they appealed, which, although we would not find that to be reasonable and appropriate, we still did take a look using their data to see how we would view it.
Questions?
So I have a worksheet here. We're talking about 02,
Yes, 2202.
and did you make a worksheet and you come down in value?
Does it have my notes on there? You know, it does. And so I do apologize. For some reason, my packet is in Commissioner Moser's and none of the others,
Okay.
including my own. When we look at that, it looks like we did find an opportunity to make an adjustment according to that remodel. And that does actually make sense now. So all of the improvement value we kept on this parcel. So the other one that they're appealing is bare land only, and that is the portion being gutted and remodeled. And so we did make an accounting for that, and that would actually lower the value of this parcel down to $992,208 for the land, and $4,389,301 for the improvements. So there is a suggested lowering of value on there.
And what's that number, Commissioner?
The total would be $5,382,209.
Okay.
So did you do any other approach except just the income approach?
Good job, Mr. Cooper.
We did the cost approach as well, and the cost approach is actually where we arrived at this lowered value. Because on the portion that's being remodeled, we did not take off any finish for what they had done because they were doing a really extensive renovation. That portion, that building, is going to operate as a brand new hotel.
And again, they showed their reasoning in an income statement. I struggle with just income statements all by themselves.
And that's one of the things in our office we try, if we're going to give it consideration, we just try to give it a partial
Okay.
weighting against everything else, because as we start to dig into expenses, when we receive a detailed accounting of all that, we find that there are, as you've said in previous hearings, you can bury a lot of stuff in there.
Then I don't have to say that again. Because there's just some interesting questions that I would have on their income statement. They should have never bought that hotel if that's all they're gonna make. I mean, you get better money for $6 million somewhere else, so.
Usually when we get a pretty detailed data set from an appellant on that, it raises a lot more questions that we ask to try to
Okay.
peel back those layers to say what can we use and what can we not use.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. I just need to know that you use some other approach, just, except just that, so. Which, the number that you just quoted was actually only $100,000 really, and some change more than what their taxpayers' opinion of it is, if I'm reading that right.
Yeah, as I recall, they were
So-
pretty close.
So I'd make the motion, we go ahead and uphold assessor's value,
Uphold or accept?
accept.
Okay.
And you did have that
That was
adjustment to,
$5,382,209
okay, and
with, do you want to read
you
that?
need to break out of for the land and the.
So this is on parcel RPRPCPP012202, and the adjustment would come off of the improvement.
All off the improvement, okay?
Okay.
You got that, Nancy? Okay.
Okay. All in favor, say.
Well, let me correct that, because
It's both.
you had 103,000, or 1,138,470 on the ground, and now it's at 992,908.
Okay. So,
And then the rest would come off the improvement.
rest of it off the improvement.
Okay?
But it still adds up to that number?
Total would be the 5 million.
Okay,
Okay.
that's my motion.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Nancy works her miracle.
Where's mine?
All right, let's do parcel ending in 2201, which is the front half of that, or the most westerly part of that property.
So on the parcel ending in 2201, we also found, and this is actually the cause of the lowering of the land value on this previous parcel we just talked about, the parcels were not being valued as contiguous, so it actually did give us a small opportunity on there. We were able on this parcel to lower the value to $736,035, but at the time of submission of the packet, we had not heard back if they would accept that, and we still haven't heard back from them, but that'd be our recommendation, is to lower that value.
Okay, on parcel RPCPP 012201, I move that we accept the assessor's recommendation of $736,035. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Parcel ending in 2104.
This one is the exact same situation. We valued it as contiguous, and that would lower the value to $150,849.
I would move that on said parcel, we accept the assessor's recommendation and valuation. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Cool. Next, let's do, oops. Grand Idaho. There's two of them.
Yes. The larger parcel of the two is ending in 11700.
11700. The floor is yours.
This property currently operates as Grand Idaho, and there's been a mix of uses in nightly rentals and monthly rentals. The appellant provided a workup of the cost approach, and when we looked over that, they listed a fair amount of non-allowable expenses that we had to take out to do a reconstructed analysis on the income approach. And one of the things that we were not able to include is the business enterprise value. That's typically referred to by hotel motel owners as the value of having a large name, and this is just an independently owned and operated hotel. It doesn't fly under a hotel chain's flag. When we looked at that income and expense, we used an 8% cap rate, and we found, it indicated a higher value. Even when we chose to use the appellant's suggested cap rate of 10.25, just to give them every benefit of the doubt, it still indicated a higher value. And so in our recommendation, every aspect that we've looked at this indicates that the value currently assessed is either accurate or a little bit on the low end. And with not being able to find any opportunities for adjustment, our recommendation would be to uphold the current assessed value.
Okay, any questions?
So our responsibility is to lower or to raise? I have no question.
I was gonna say, is that a motion?
No.
Any questions?
Well, all kinds of them, but not necessarily for this purpose, so their financial statement has got some interesting things in it, so.
So on parcel RPRPCPP011700, I'd make a motion that we uphold the assessor's value.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that puts us on parcel ending in 1803.
This particular parcel is the token value that I had referred to earlier.
Okay.
We currently have that piece of land assessed at $6,500, and we do not have any recommendations to lower that below what it is now.
I would move on parcel RPRPCPP011803 that we accept the assessor's token value. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is that it for you, Jason, or you got one more?
There is one more.
Which one is it?
It is the parcel ending in 4803.
4803. Ah, there it is, okay. Go ahead.
This is the final parcel submitted by the same appellant, and we took a look over, once again, all of the information that they gave us. They did not give us any assessments of similar properties to support their approaches, and they did give us 3 different approaches. Their first approach, they used their 2024 revenues, and then they applied industry averages for expenses. Approach 2 used a 3-year average for revenue and then applied industry average for expenses, and their third approach used their actual, their 2024 revenues and then their actual expenses. When we looked through there, we performed a reconstructed income cost approach, and we felt that the most appropriate was to use a 3-year average for their revenue. When we looked through there, we did not make a deduction for the intangible values as we've discussed in previous cases. When we did take that out, we do feel we were able to extract a fair and consistent value. The cap rates we've been seeing have been in the range of 6 to 8.5, but for our purposes, we've been using typically around an 8. We did use the appellant suggested 8.5% cap rate. When we did that and we reconstructed their income approach, it arrived at a value of $7.8 million, and which is about $1 million higher than our current assessed value. And while we don't want to necessarily just use purely the income approach, nor do we want to suggest to raise them $1 million, so our recommendation would be that we uphold the current assessed value.
My only question is, on commercial properties like this, do you take into account the condition of the property, even if you're just using the income approach or anything like that?
If we were looking strictly at the income approach, the condition would be reflected in their income.
Okay.
When we take the cost approach or even the sales approach, then we look at the condition of the property.
Okay, so their argument was to use the sales approach, correct? Or the income approach?
The income approach.
Okay.
Yeah, but when we reconstructed it to take out non-allowables, we
Right,
found it
okay.
to be higher.
No, that's fine. That was my only question. Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
So what's the number then?
6.895762.
Where do I see that?
Up at the top,
Oh,
just on the sheet.
gotta go clear to the top again. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I recommend we accept the assessor's value of 6895762 on parcel RPRPCPP 004803.
All right, we have a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We're done with this guy. So, which one did you have?
I'm McCord. Do we want to wait till 1 though? That's fine.
Is he supposed to be coming, did you say?
No, he's admin, I think, but
Yeah.
I have to be back at 1 too, so
It's up to you. You're here. You want to do it now or you want to wait? It's your call.
I'm good to do it. I'm ready to go.
Let's do it then. McCormick Ranch. So this is parcel ending RPR 385-302-0702. And there's two others on there. Parcel ending 45717 and parcel ending in 8300. When you're ready, go ahead.
All right, so the 702, this one is I provided a map so you could see which parcel it is and congruent to, they have a large piece of land right there that they're all contiguous to each other. None of them are actually landlocked because he can't access them through his own property. This one is, I have comparables that are outside the city limits. One is 15 acres, that's probably the closest to the size. The rest are a bit smaller, quite a bit smaller. And on the 8300 one, he mentions that this one could possibly be donated to the city, and he provided documents showing that. However, in that document, I didn't find anything specific as far as legal descriptions or what portion of it would be donated, if it was the whole thing or just part of it. And so until that happens, we can't really value on something that may happen in the future. And between all these, two of them are inside the city limits, but they are being valued as if they're outside the city limits. And so with all of this, we recommend that we uphold the value on these 3 parcels.
Okay, any questions?
No.
Commissioner, any questions?
Not really. I mean, there's 3 different parcels,
Yes,
and they're not contiguous?
they are.
They are
But
contiguous.
two of them are next to each other, but one is further away, but he has ownership in between. So altogether, as a whole, they're all contiguous.
And access to them,
Yes.
all the same access point?
No, so the one, he actually has access into, let's see, I think it's the 702 one. That one he has access, nope, it's not that one, sorry. The 717 one, that one he has access below. It kind of comes on, he could access it from, I believe that's Craft Road. And then the other one would be access from Gaithy Drive. And then the rest of them, you kind of access from that. And then there is a road, it looks like not an official road, maybe an access road that goes all the way up through a different parcel that meets that small one. It's 702. It's the 8300 one clear at the top, and he recommends that one's lowered because it's below the water line. But that, again, we don't have it appraised as if it had access.
And you're
to the
just,
city
you're just assessing it as bare land?
Yes, and it's all in his additional acres, so I don't believe any of them are being valued higher than.
Okay, so. Yeah, okay, good with that. They're all bare land,
Yes.
you know, so at some point, if he decides to develop, he could,
Mhm.
so, okay.
Any questions for you?
No, my,
Okay,
2 of the properties haven't been adjusted in a couple of years.
okay. I will take a motion then.
So, on McCormick Ranch parcels, I would make a motion that we uphold the assessor's values.
Okay, we have a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
It does look like there was one other admin. I don't know if you guys want to do that right now.
There's 2 more.
2 more? Okay.
yeah. So we've done Pocatello Motels, we've got Miriam's Family Trust.
Yeah, the Miriam's Family Trust is the other commercial one.
Okay, let's do that real quick while you're
And
still sitting there.
Foster.
And then Foster.
On the Miriam's Family Trust, this is the property that operates as the Wingers Restaurant. And the particular, it was built in '86, they remodeled in '97, again in '19. When we looked at comparable assessed values of other restaurants, we certainly found it was being assessed equitably. And when we saw the appellant's request to actually raise it $19,000, we didn't necessarily find reason to potentially pull them out of equity, so our recommendation is to uphold the assessed value.
Okay, well, I appreciate the appellate's response. I would move that on parcel IDL 000203 that we accept the assessor's recommendation and retain the assessed value. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Another tough one for Mr. Hooker. Wow. All right, Foster? On here, we have 2 parcels, RPR 3805-000-2308, and one ending in 2309. And when you're ready, go ahead.
This was a split. It was a family transaction. It was a deed that transferred from a parent to a child. And it was previously used as ag, and it is currently being used as ag. The thing is that the name changed, and it is small acreage, so we do require an application from the appellant. We did send that application last month, but we have not received it back yet.
So this was not an arm's length transaction?
It wasn't, no. There was no money transferred.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
No.
And there's nothing to say nothing.
Okay, on the 2 parcels in question, I would move that we uphold the assessor's valuation. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. That, I believe, wraps us up until 1 o'clock. So we will stay.